Hello there, my name is Eladrium and welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock tutorial with your favorite cardigan wearing Minecraft character. And in today's Minecraft Bedrock tutorial, I have a very powerful moss-based bone meal farm for you to build in your Minecraft Bedrock 1.18 survival worlds. This farm is a fully automatic, AFK-able, and self-sustaining bone meal farm that can power a host of different contraptions on your Minecraft Bedrock survival worlds. And while this farm is large and may look really complex, I promise it's really rather straightforward. You're basically just building the same three components over and over and over again and adding some scaffolding and redstone signaling to it. So outside of the time component it may take for you to build this farm, it's really straightforward for you to actually construct. Now, there are a ton of moss-based bone meal farms you can find on YouTube that can cover how to build a very simple moss-based farm and can even generate a lot of bone meal for you. But I think what you'll find most unique about this one, and why I think you should build this one instead, is its practicality. And just for a little background, if you have seen any of my previous Minecraft Bedrock tutorials, you know that I do not like zero tick based farms. I think they're a little bit cheap, and Mojang also agrees with me, which is why they're being constantly patched and removed from the game. And when I play Minecraft, I would much rather be building cool contraptions, building up great buildings, and generally having fun, as opposed to constantly trying to need to fix a farm that Mojang patched out. So when I'm building my farms, I would rather have one that's going to be reliable, consistent, and that I know is not going to be patched out in the future. And if you are building a bone meal based farm, such as a kelp or sugarcane farm, you are going to need a ton of bone meal to keep that running at its optimal rate. With my testing that I've done, the fastest farm I've been able to produce for either sugarcane or kelp consumes about 145 pieces of bone meal a minute, which is just around 2.5-ish stacks. So if you're building anyone else's bone meal farm, you're simply not going to get those rates out of them. And if you're going to be building 2 or 3 of those farms, you might as well build just one farm instead that not only covers all of your needs, but uses less redstone, less signaling, and is equally consistent. Now, as mentioned previously, this farm is very, very efficient and will produce a ton of bone meal for you once it is in its fully charged and optimal state. And I'll explain a little bit about what I mean by fully charged and optimal closer to the end of the video after the tutorial, and also explain how to get that set up. However, once it is in that state, you will be having well in excess of 10,000 pieces of bone meal produced by this farm every single hour. Now, because this farm does prioritize keeping itself fed over giving you any sort of profits, that means that there is a little bit taken off the top, and your total net profits from this farm that get collected down in these bottom chests is about 9,100 pieces of bone meal every single hour, which, if you do the math, should be enough to keep those bone meal farms that you have running for kelp and sugarcane running pretty much constantly while you're AFK. Now, as this build tutorial is a little bit lengthy, and in the interest of keeping the runtime of this video down, I'm not going to go in as super much depth to the build mechanics as I normally would during my videos. However, there's really only 3 things that you need to know about how this farm works. Now, the first component to understand about how this farm works is the moss mechanic. Moss, when bone mealed, will expand out randomly in a 7x7 area, and will cover just about everywhere except for the corners. It's not 100% efficient on each strike of bone meal, but eventually you will get lucky enough that it will cover absolutely everything. But the unique property that we're taking advantage of with this farm is the fact that when bone mealed, moss can also spread up a block, as shown here. As you can see, when we bone meal this block, as long as it is connected in some way to 2 blocks above it, we can actually generate moss in an area where we can push them around with pistons with a stone generator, which means that because moss is compressible, when something pushes against it, it is turned into a block, it falls down, and then we can collect it and scoop it up. The second mechanic that we need to understand for this farm are these double stone generators. These double stone generators that I have shown here are designed by Silent Whisper that he actually uses on his moss-based bone meal farm. But as you can see, they are very, very, very quick at producing lots of stone, and most importantly, are very, very reliable. when we connect 2, 3, or even 4 of these together, we can create a ton of new bone mealable area for our moss to grow up into, and also compact down any of the moss or any other type of blocks such as azalea leaves, seeds, or grass down into a collection system that we can later pick up. And the last component we need to understand for this farm is this double clock hopper system. How this works is we have on the right here a single item that's being passed back and forth between 2 hoppers, and then a arbitrary number of items here in this upper hopper that gets passed back and forth, which then trigger the item in the hopper on the right to move over, which then trigger a signal up above. We use this multiple times in this build, and this is how we are going to control the rate at which the flush mechanic that I'll talk about a little bit later in the video works, but also how to seed and get this farm up and running to its efficient rate. And finally, before we get into the tutorial, I do want to give some attributions and credits over to both Eggfur and Silent Whisperer. Both of them have very excellent moss-based bone meal farms over in their channel that we have adapted, modified, and improved the mechanics on in order to get the rates out of this farm. I will leave a link to both of their moss-based bone meal farms down in the description below, but if you're looking for any other sort of Minecraft Bedrock content, I can highly recommend both of their channels to go check out, so make sure you pay them a visit and maybe leave a like on their videos as well. Alright then, we have covered a lot of information so far, but now let's move into the tutorial. First and foremost, I am going to be doing this in creative solely for resource management, but inside of here, I'm going to try to build this up from the bottom to the top. I will also include chapter markers for each section of the build to help you along. So the first part of this build is constructing out a 25 by 38 area. This area is delineated by this outer wool border that I have here. Our farm is going to fit entirely inside of this area. I have also marked out some additional areas here that are used mainly to make sure that we have things aligned. You don't have to fill in this middle section, but for me, when I was building this farm, I found this very useful just so I could have a top-down see-through type look through the farm while I was working on it, so that I can make sure that everything was aligned so perfectly. So start by carving out this 25 by 38 area. So if you're using the pattern that I have laid out here, over these brown wool blocks, we're going to place down 4 double chests worth of storage. This is going to be the primary storage and the collection system for the entire farm. However, you will fill this up in about an hour and a half's time. So if you want to extend this out and feed it directly into another farm or tie this into your main system, I recommend you do that because this storage will not last long at all. Once you have those chests in place a single hopper behind each of them, and then on the top hoppers we're going to extend that out and then extend another hopper over this white line here. Once we have that in place, go ahead and get some glass blocks and extend glass blocks over the white line, 6 blocks total as shown here, and then we're just going to mirror this on the other side. Moving on to what I'm going to call the back of the farm, we're going to enclose off these hoppers entirely so that when we add water to it, nothing is going to fill out. So go ahead and just enclose in this entire system, build up blocks on the side, extend these blocks over, cap off the corner, and then extend it all the way back as shown here. And then again, we're just going to repeat this on the other side of the farm. We have 2 pieces of waterway feeding into this. Next, we're going to place 2 more pieces of glass blocks right here. Then we're going to fill up this trackway with water. You should see water run all the way over to our chest, but nothing should overflow. And we're just going to get a button out and place it over these hoppers right here. That'll stop the water from flowing over, but items will flow into that hopper, then along that L shape, and then finally down into our chest. 4 blocks in from the back corner over here, we're going to place a piece of soul sand on top of this glass block. Place another piece on top of it and knock out a temporary block there, and then repeat that on the other side. And as you can see, this is where these glass blocks and floor patterns really going to come in handy. Place down a target block behind each of these pieces of soul sand, and then place down a dropper directly on top of that target block. Now we're just going to mirror this redstone on both sides. So place down a little 4 by 2 shape here of slabs, but in this corner, place down a solid block, place down a slab underneath this temporarily, knock that out and place another slab right there. Go ahead and place down a comparator, repeater, comparator with the light turned on, and then connect a piece of redstone dust all the way over to that target block. And then we're just going to repeat the exact same thing over here. Make sure that you flip that switch on that last comparator so it lights up. So right now you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Moving on up, you're going to place a hopper on top of the dropper, hopper facing into it, hopper on top of that, composter, hopper, and then we're going to place down a dispenser right next to that composter, moss block on top, solid block on top of that, place down a piston on top of that solid block, then underneath on the dispenser, place a piece of redstone torch. You should see that piston extend all the way. Finally, put a hopper feeding into that dispenser, and then we're just going to repeat that same process on the other side. So hopper in the dispenser, hopper facing to the outside of the farm, hopper on top, composter, and you can place another hopper on top of that. Try not to get stuck in it if you're jumping. Place down a dispenser along the composter facing up, moss block on top, and you're going to place a solid block right there, then a piston, and then against this dispenser, place down a redstone torch. You should see that extend. So thus far, you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Next, on both sides, we're going to, starting on top of this piece of soul sand, we're going to create a little glass enclosure that goes all the way up here to this dropper facing into our dispenser. Go one block higher, make sure that you cover up this back hopper over here. Then we're just going to extend that out. We're going to be placing a waterway here, so we want to make sure that none of the water that we place is going to be able to get out. So create that little enclosure. That should be, at this point, perfectly aligned with this little chute that we have right here. Next, we're going to bring that pillar all the way up. Same thing over here, just as a guardrail. Make sure that that's connecting, and then do the same thing on this outer edge here. Once that's in place, you're going to want to place a button down right on this piece of glass block right here, and then 2 blocks down, place another button there. Next, you're going to need to jump inside of this little chute that you've created. Make sure you have a few buckets of water. And then on each of these pieces of glass, place some water down. That should create a bubble elevator. Place a water there, and then that should flow all the way over that hopper and then drop seamlessly down into our water channel down below. Again, we're going to repeat this on both sides of our farm. So once you do it on one side, just mirror it on the other. Once that is mirrored on both sides, we're going to create a channelway over the center of our farm here, directly above our glass blocks. Then we're going to create a solid block staircase as shown here. Place a torch under the first solid block, redstone repeater, and then we're going to extend this green piece of wool block all the way over to the chest, make a single staircase down, and then fill that in with redstone dust. Once that piece of redstone dust is in place, you're going to get 4 pieces of glass blocks as shown here. And then we're going to make a staircase up to the outside of the farm. Make sure you knock out any temporary pieces that you have. Going to fill that in with redstone dust as shown here. Then we're going to create a glass staircase over here to the front of the farm, just up 3 blocks as we have shown here. And then we're going to make another tramway coming over. Now we're going to build our first timing circuit that I'll be using blue wool for this. So place 2 pieces of blue wool in the center and then 1 piece on each side. Beneath that, we're going to place down a hopper, delete that temporary block, then place another hopper feeding into that, and then place 1 piece of any stackable 64 item block inside those hoppers. Next, we're going to build down another staircase, 3 blocks, and then build up 1 block on this side over here. Get yourself some redstone comparators facing towards the front of the farm on this bottom, then place down some torches, some more comparators, more torches, and then right here on the corner, place a temporary block, hopper facing in, hopper facing into that, and then you can go ahead and place in 3 blocks for right now. At optimal rates, this is going to be at 2, but when we're initially seeding the farm, we're going to want to have 3 items in here. Next, we're going to want to connect these dispensers to our clock. So place a temporary block beneath that, and then we're just going to build a staircase going down. We're going to repeat that on both sides. So go 3 blocks out, knock out that temporary block, and then connect the staircase all the way down to our clock. Next, we're going to put a repeater pointing into each of these dispensers, and then connect a line of redstone dust to our torches that we have over here. Make sure that you also connect these redstone dust to our clock on the green circuit. And then we're going to go over here to the front of the farm, extend out 2 gray blocks. We're going to place down a repeater, piece of dust, and then a lever. Once that lever's in place, we can flip that off, and now we have a control for our farm for turning it on and off. This is our single control point for the farm, so now you should have something looking a little bit like this. We're going to keep this off for now because we're going to have water flowing and other items really soon, so we're going to wait to the end before we actually flip that back on and test the whole farm. Next, we're going to want to extend a line of hoppers from each of our dispensers over here into the middle, place down a double chest in the middle so that we can split our items. 2 hoppers on top of that, and then we're going to extend these hoppers out to these glass blocks. We're going to extend out 3 blocks from that, then we're going to go over 3 and then repeat that on both sides. We're basically making a splitting system here so that all of our items from one half go into one side of the chest and the other go into the other. We're going to repeat this process on the other side. We're using this little yellow block marker right here to delineate where the corners are. So just go ahead and follow that design right there. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 blocks back, and then another 2 blocks over. Once you have all of these hoppers in place, go ahead and place composters on top of each and every single one of them. There's going to be 6 of these that we end up knocking out, but it's a little bit easier for now just to place them all in. Once you have all of those composters in place another set of hoppers. Each hopper should be pointed into the composter so that the items will flow from the hopper into the composter and get converted into bone meal. Then we're going to pull out some of this lovely little packed ice. Go ahead and place that piece of packed ice here in this corner block here. Our water is going to be running in a clockwise direction. You can then knock out the composter beneath that piece of packed ice. Then we're going to go 6 blocks counterclockwise. Go ahead and knock that hopper out, place a piece of packed ice there. 6 blocks in a clockwise direction, pop one there, another 6 blocks, pop that in, another 6 blocks, and then pop that in right there. Once that's in place, we should be good with that packed ice. Now go ahead and get some glass blocks, and we're just going to create a little inner wall of this so that when our items are moving across, they don't fall down elsewhere. Go ahead and just fill all of this center area in just like that. And then we're going to get some buttons, and we're just going to place them directly over this piece of packed ice. Make sure you actually get it over the ice and not on the glass above the hopper, because then you'll have problems. All right, so and then you can go ahead and knock out these useless composters beneath it. It just makes it a little bit easier to connect it. Make sure you do leave the hoppers beneath that to connect everything. So now you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Now we can go ahead and move on to our platforms. With the center point being the moss block, we're going to create a 7x7 area with every piece of this filled in with bottom slabs, except for the corners of this area, the spot directly above the moss block, and the spot directly above the hopper. The easiest way I found to do this is just go out 3 blocks from each side, fill in that, and then on the back side here with the piston, you can just go out 2 blocks in the north, south, or east, west direction, and then kind of just fill in everything else that you have there. Once that is all completed, you should have a platform that looks a little something like this, and you can just repeat that on the other side. Next, we're going to wall in this back side of the farm here. So go ahead and place down a glass block here, glass block in the corner, same thing over here, glass block against the hopper, glass block in the corner, and then we're going to go over to the other adjacent corners, glass block in the corner, and another glass block in the corner over here. Moving back to the back of the farm, we're going to fill in along these glass blocks and create a little channel for all of our water so our items don't fall out. We don't need to fill the corners in. We will focus on the front of the farm towards the end. We do have some more mechanics that are going there, so we're going to hold off for that right now, but we will come back to it. So at this point, our farm should be looking a little something like this. Now we need to place in our downward facing pistons that'll break all of our azalea trees, seeds, grass, and everything else. So build up a platform 4 blocks high, make a little T shape as shown here. You can clear out those temporary scaffolding blocks and then the center block of that T shape, since we won't need that filled in. Then along each of these, we're going to place a downward facing piston, and then above our entire slab area, you're going to want to place downward facing pistons as well. This is really easy to do. You're just going to go 3 out in the north southeast direction, and then just 3 3 2, and then it's just a matter of filling in that corner. 3 3 2, and then fill out another 2 3 3 2. Again, 3 3 2, and then 3 3 3 2. All right, so at this point, our farm should be looking a little something like this on both sides. Now we're going to put in a special redstone circuit that's going to flush items from our waterway. So we're going to build this little section of target blocks here. It's really important that you are using target blocks, not anything else. I'm going to mirror this on both sides. I'm going to show you what both sides look like just so that you make sure you have the item alignment correct. You can go ahead and place a piece of sandstone here or any other non-bone mealable piece of blocks. Then once we have that in place, we're going to place a piece of redstone dust on this middle block that we have right here. Then we're going to get some observers and some sticky pistons. And the best way to do this is just to create this little temporary structure here. Place the observer with the arrow facing into the target block on both sides, and the sticky piston on the inside of the farm like shown here. Again, we're going to repeat that on both sides of the farm. So go ahead and place an observer facing into that innermost target block, and then a sticky piston facing into that. Next, we're going to wire up a solid block. We're going to place 2 observers facing downwards here. So middle block and then the block to the right of that. Then we're going to place a torch on this target block, and then we're just going to repeat this process on the other side. Torch, block, downward facing observers in the middle, then to the left of that. Remember, we're mirroring. Then we're going to place down powered rails over that block and both of those observers. Next, we're going to want to get out some slabs, and we're going to extend out 1, 2, 3, 4 slabs. And then we're going to place down a block just like so. We're going to want that hanging over the edge right there. Then we're going to want to place down a target block, extend it out like this, another target block kind of catty cornered. And then we're going to want to get another solid block, observer facing down, rails, make sure they're powered. Over here, we're going to place a repeater pointing into that solid block, a line of redstone gust coming from the torch that should turn off over there. And then we're going to fill this in with some glass blocks. Make sure you also add a piece of dust that goes into that other target block. So at this point, we should have everything working. Go ahead and place a lever and give that a little flick. You should see that all of the powered rails on this right-hand circuit light up when you give that a little flick. Once you verified that, just go ahead and repeat the exact same thing on this circuit over here. Fill in the corners with glass blocks. And we're going to go ahead and pull out our slabs again. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead and place a solid block here at the end. Target block in the corner. And we're going to place a solid block here against these pistons. Another solid block, observer facing down, powered rails along all of that. Then we're going to place dust, repeater facing into that solid block. We're going to take a redstone torch, put it on that block right there, should turn off, slab, and then place down a piece of dust. Give that a little test over here. You should see the same thing. When you give that lever a flick, the bottommost should light up, and then the other side should light up. Next, we're going to get more dispensers, and we're going to place them in this pattern as shown here. So middle, we're basically going to be going either clockwise on the right or counterclockwise on the left with this. So the middlemost one, there should always be 2 either to the right or 2 to the left here on this side of the farm. So place that down here just as shown here. If you're having trouble, just do what I do in the video here. It's a little bit easier to see how this is set up. But basically from the outside of the farm, we want those dispensers kind of rotating outwards. Then you can go ahead and fill in this temporary space over here, just so that we don't have any items that drop out, and then repeat the process on this side as well. On the inside of the farm, in this adjacent corner, we're going to place a target block 2 blocks up and 1 block up. Then we're going to want to place down a torch on the inside, and then you can now fill in this entire space above all of these downward facing pistons with redstone dust. They should all extend down. Make sure that you get both sides. Now, coming back over here to the front of the farm, we're going to take a blue wool circuit. We're going to extend out 2 blocks from this piston, create that little C shape right here, and then we're going to extend this all the way out to our little edge of the farm that we have right here. Knock out this corner block, place a target block, and then on this block over here, place buttons on all the sides. Place 2 pieces of dust here on the edge, 4 comparators, then 4 comparators going back, another 2 pieces of dust, comparator backwards. Then we're going to place a repeater going into each of our pistons, and then some more dust. Continuing our purple circuit towards the end of the farm, we're going to fill in this area 1 block down in the middle, 8 blocks out. Make sure you extend this out 2 rows here. And then we're going to make a little staircase that goes up another 2 blocks as shown here, and then run that purple wool into your target block. Next, we're going to get some dust. We're going to place down 2 pieces of dust, 2 repeaters that are facing towards the back of the farm, another set of dust, comparator facing backwards, and then dust all the way up here and connecting to our target block. You should see that all of these pistons should retract. Make sure that you also place in a repeater there just to carry the signal over. Now over here above this space between our comparators, we're going to build another one of our double hopper clocks. So place down 2 pieces of wool. We're going to extend that staircase down once more, 3 blocks, and then go back up another block, continuing the staircase pattern and extending it out here. Place down comparators facing out on the bottom, comparators facing in at the top. Place a torch down here on both sides along the front of the farm. Hopper facing into it, feed that hopper back in. Then we're going to do the same thing here, hopper facing back into it. For this hopper along the rear of the farm, you just want to place in a single item of any 64 stackable. Then on the left side, place a redstone torch. You should see this whole circuit light up, and all of these pistons should now be set. Next, we just need to hook this up to our main lever. So 2 pieces of wool here on the outside, place down dust, and then a repeater. I know I placed a torch down in the video. That's just temporary. Place a piece of dust down there. Then I'm going to connect this up using pink wool. So pink wool, torch on top, pink wool, torch on the side facing into the farm, wool on top of that, torch going back out to the farm, wool, and then a torch like so. That will lock that bottom hopper. And once all of the items here in this middle section flip back over, once we add them, that should keep this hopper locked. You can use any set of 64 items stackable. I think green dye or any type of dye is really easy, but once all of those items flip over, that torch should go out. All of these comparators should go out, and then our pistons should trigger down. Now, over here on the other side of the farm, we're going to want to continue building out a staircase as shown here. Place a repeater there, dust into our target blocks, get some glass blocks next, 4 blocks over, connect that all together with dust. Then we're going to take our glass blocks and make another staircase going down 2 blocks and continuing out. Then we're just going to zigzag that down. Make sure you use glass blocks for this, because that's the only way that we can carry our redstone signal up. Make sure you repeat that on both sides just to keep the symmetry nice. And then connect all of that with redstone dust as shown here. Once you place those last 2 pieces of dust, you should see those torches light that up. And now we're pretty much done with all of the redstone for the farm. The only things that we really have left to do is our stone generators, and then wiring up those stone generators to our main farm. For the sake of time, I'm going to show you how to build one of the stone generators. We're going to build one on each side of the farm. So 2 on the back, 2 on the front, and then 1 on both the right and the left. Again, I'll show you how to build one, but we're really just mirroring that. So if you know how to build one, it's very simple to transpose that over to the other 5 stone generators that we need to build. So 2 blocks out from our platform that we have on the floor, we're going to build up 7 blocks with any temporary block, and then we're going to build a row 7 blocks long of obsidian. Once we have that obsidian in place, we're going to place slabs along the outside facing the outer border of the farm, and then on this last block right here, we're going to place a solid block like shown here. Moving on over here, we're going to lay down a line of redstone dust. Then on this corner, place up a solid block right here. Next, we're going to place down 7 pistons facing upwards directly on this obsidian. This obsidian is going to prevent our pistons from being pushed around by all of the stone that we'll be generating. And then place 2 slabs down pointing into this block, a repeater on 3 ticks pointing into it, and then a speck of dust directly behind it. Next, we're going to bring out 4 temporary blocks as shown here, knock out that corner, then go out 7 pieces of obsidian. We're going to extend this out back into the farm 3 blocks and then knock out that corner. Next, place in 7 pistons facing inwards to the farm. Then underneath those pistons and 1 slot in front of them, place down half slabs as shown here. Once we have all of those half slabs in place, go ahead and get out some temporary stone blocks, and we're going to put those directly in front of all of these pistons. Then pull out your water bucket and then waterlog each of these pistons. Make sure that each one is completely waterlogged. If you're having trouble seeing it, we'll then lay some glass down as shown here. Glass should go on top of the pistons, in the corner, and then 1 block in front. And that glass should make it very apparent where that water is at. Next, we're going to place down a piece of obsidian in front and to the left here of our pistons that are pointing up, then place lava inside of this glass containment system. To let that lava flow all the way out to the edge there, just to make sure that everything is covered. Then we're going to get a sticky piston, and we're going to have that facing to the rear of the farm, 1 block in front of the pistons, then place an observer facing into those sticky pistons. 2 pieces of dust there, and then extend that line of dust over all of the obsidian. Place a piece of dust on top of that, 2 blocks up, 1 block over on each side. Then we're going to place down a repeater on 4 ticks facing into the farm, and then lock that with a lever so it doesn't turn on. Next, we're going to cover all this lava with some blocks, and then we're going to place some pistons facing back inwards to the farm, just as shown here. Once you have all of those pistons in place, at the end here, you're going to place a block, and then on this first piston right behind it, you're going to place a block as well. Place an observer facing into that solid block, and then redstone dust on top of all of your pistons. Fill in that space between those 2 blocks with slabs. Then moving back over here, we're going to place a sticky piston facing up with an observer pointed back into the farm on top of that. Once that is in place, we're going to go out 3 blocks from that observer, 2 blocks over and 1 up, and then another 1 up here. Place a repeater on 3 ticks pointing into that last block, a line of dust over all of these, and then we're going to get obsidian 7 blocks over, just as we did at the bottom, and just repeat the process. We're going to fill this area in with slabs here while it's accessible. We're going to take some regular blocks, cap in the ends, place in some temporary stone, and then place in our pistons. Once all of our pistons are in place, we can go ahead and line the back of that obsidian with redstone dust. Then go ahead and waterlog each and every one of these pistons, and then enclose it in glass, just like we did with the lower section. Once that is completely enclosed with glass, fill it in with lava. Now, at the top here, we're going to go up 1 block and over, and then we're going to line that pieces of row of obsidian with dust, place pistons underneath it facing downwards, and then in front of this piece of stone here against our pistons that are going to be compressing our moss, place some obsidian. So your farm for your stone generator should look a little something like this. Go ahead and give that lever a switch, and it might take just a second, but once it gets going, it'll start spitting out stone pretty quickly. So don't let it get away from you, because it will generate stone all the way to the other side. So that is the stone generator design that we'll be using. You're going to want to build 2 on the back, 2 on the front, and then build smaller 3 wide ones on both the left and the right. For the lever positioning, where we'll be sending our power inputs to, you're going to want to keep them to the outside of the farm. So on the right two ones, they're going to be on the right side. On the left two ones, they're going to be on the left side. And then on the middle ones, you're going to want those facing towards the front of the farm or to this target block here in the center of the screen. All right, so we have pretty much every component of this farm done. We just need to wire up all these stone generators to our farm and do some more finishing touches. So coming over here on the left side, we're going to place down a block, then a torch underneath it, and we can remove that lever. We're going to extend out 2 pieces of wool, place a repeater down, and then over here, we're going to do the exact same thing. Temporary block, piece of redstone torch, knock out that. And then we're going to extend out 2 blocks of wool or any other building material you want. Place another repeater into that, fill in this area, and then connect it all with dust. Then we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side of the farm. Place down a block, place down a torch, place down another torch, knock out those switches and levers that we have there, extend out 2 blocks underneath it. Place a repeater facing into that solid block, repeater into the solid block, connect those 2 together with another piece of wool and wire it all together with dust. Then we're going to go back down here to the bottom. We're going to place a piece of wool, repeater, block, torch, 4 pieces of wool coming out. Then we're going to very simply just ladder up. So go 2 blocks out and create just a nice little step ladder connecting all of this together. Then run wire all the way back down. You don't want to have it on top of the solid block. If you give that a little flick, you should see all of these pistons start running. Then we're just going to repeat this on the other side as we have shown here. So just make sure you have all of these levers knocked out of place. Otherwise, as shown here, you won't have anything working. But once you knock that lever out, everything should start working. Now we just need to wire up these back piston stone generators that we have. So same thing, block, torch, knock out the lever, extend outwards 2 blocks. Then we're going to knock out that temporary block, repeater, dust. And then if you come over here, you can run this piece of wool however you want. You'll probably just need to go over 1 and then you can just ladder it however you want. Whatever is the best way to connect it is good with you. Then throw dust, connecting it all together, and then you'll probably need to throw down a repeater somewhere in the middle as shown here, just so that reaches. All right, so next we're going to fill in all of these dispensers up here on this top rack with water buckets. We're waiting to do this until the very end because if something goes wrong, we're in big trouble with water everywhere. So wait to do this until the very end. Fill in all of these with water buckets, and then we're going to repeat that process on the other side as well. Again, we're just going to mirror what we have on this side to the other. So now we're just going to fill in the sides of these with glass blocks, fill in this corner with glass blocks, and then underneath this obsidian right here, we're going to fill in all of this area here underneath the obsidian with glass blocks. You don't need to fill in the sides here behind the dispensers because they'll cover that. But on the other side here, just go ahead and fill that in. Then over here, we're going to place a glass block over that and then no further. Then on this side, we're going to create a little channelway. This is where water is going to flow into. So make sure that there's space there. Extend this over as shown here. And if you let your stone generators run too long, you'll need to knock those out. They won't affect anything, but they kind of just get in the way. So fill those in with obsidian so your stone doesn't go anywhere. And then fill in the rest of this area with glass. We don't want any items or anything else getting out of place. Next, come back underneath here on this side, fill that in with glass blocks, repeat the same on this side, and then we can finally wall off this area right here. Again, we're going to repeat it on the other side. So once you have that done on both sides, you're just going to, in front of these buttons in this little water channelway here, fill this in with water. And then you should see all of that water start to flow here. So just fill in all of the spaces in front of that button and just let the water flow all the way to that packed ice block. So you should have something that looks a little bit like this. Then just to keep items from spilling out, go ahead and enclose in that little capsule way that you've built here, and then bring that over all the way to the other side. All right, so our farm is done at this point. Now, a couple things you should know. First and foremost, this farm does prioritize feeding itself over giving you any bone meal output. So that means that items will flow into this dispenser that we have here at the bottom on both sides, and also into this hopper that we have in front of it before it actually creates any bone meal for you. What I recommend you do is place at least 1.5 stacks of items inside of this dispenser here. If you place any less, this farm will basically stall out until the flush system occurs, which is about 1.5 stacks worth of bone meal coming in here. And then on this middle section right here where this middle blue circuit double hopper is, make sure that has 3 items in it first, because that'll slow down the rate just a little bit, but will ensure that this gets charged quickly. Once this is fully charged up, you can go ahead and switch this blue circuit double hopper to 2 items instead of 3. And then this farm will be producing about 9,100 pieces of bone meal per hour. Now, just for demonstration here, I'm just going to fill all of this in with bone meal on both sides. And before you run this for the first time, make sure you check, and double check that you have everything that has water and closed off. Because if you don't, you will have a very big mess on your hands. It's a little bit to clean up. So make sure you check first. But once you have checked, and double checked absolutely everything in this farm, go ahead and give that lever a switch, and it will start churning out bone meal for you at 9,100 pieces of bone meal per hour ish, give or take. So as we can see here, this farm is running. You should be able to see in here that bone meal is, or excuse me, moss is being generated and then immediately broken down. And you should see trees and seeds and other things in there as well. And if you see that, that's a good sign, because that indicates that those items are actually being created, and then the pistons are destroying them. All right, so that is the end of the tutorial, and there is your moss farm that generates about 9,100 pieces of moss per hour. A couple of things to note, just tips and tricks for me when using this. First and foremost, this farm is mostly safe. It won't break or anything if you accidentally unload the chunk, but I do recommend you stop it before unloading the chunk. If for some reason your game crashes or anything like that, the only thing that might break is the water buckets being spit out of the dispensers instead of the water. If that happens, just fill them with new water buckets and then have good luck searching for where those water buckets ended up once they're flushed. Additionally, if you need to unload this farm or leave the game or anything else, but you still have items up in here, they will remain here, but I recommend that you hit the target block or the buttons at the end just to forcefully flush all those items after the system has been stopped. That will at least put them in the hoppers and reduce the number of entities that you have running around on your server. And with that, we have reached the end of the tutorial. I have included down in the description below a world download so that you can experiment and play around with this, and also a MC structure file that you can import into a behavior pack if you would like that as well, since this is a rather large build. This farm took me a really long time to build and get this video produced for, so I would really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and consider sharing it with others. It took a really long time to test this and get this in a video presentation format. So if you do end up using it, please like, subscribe, and share. I would be really grateful. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to leave those down in the YouTube comments below. Be happy to address anything that you guys see with this farm. But that is all the time that we have for today in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you find this farm useful and it gets you all the bone meal that you need. And I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.